And with that, we're live. Hello, welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Wherever you're joining us from, it's a pleasure to welcome you back here at the Light 'em Up Lounge. It's Wednesday, time for another exciting interview, time for another live show. We're getting close to the holidays. We're getting close to that very special time of the year, and we're very much looking forward to our end of the year show and the cigar Christmas family gathering that we do every single year. But today I'm delighted and honored to welcome Ben, Chris from Luxury Cigar Club. It's a pleasure to have both of you joining us today to talk about that very exciting endeavor and community that you have so diligently built over the last couple of years and the incredible reputation that you have garnered in the premium cigar industry. So without further ado, Ben, Chris, thank you so much. Welcome, and it's good to have you at the Light 'em Up Lounge.
Thank you. Thank you. It's our pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank you for having us. It's always a good
Absolutely.
time. This is why we do it, right? Smoke cigars with friends.
Very true. Very true. Much appreciated. Well, for all of you watching, joining us over on Facebook, please make sure that you put your questions underneath the live stream. I'm always checking, I'm always watching, so I can forward your questions to Ben and Chris here with us at the lounge. For everybody joining us via Zoom here at the lounge, please make yourselves heard and chime in and share your questions with us. So, Ben, Chris, let's start at the very beginning. Luxury Cigar Club now has become, as you say it in your own words, a community of cigar lovers, for cigar lovers, offering super high quality cigar subscription service. But you've actually grown this thing into so much more. I think it's a great platform. It's a great community, truly, and that's what matters, right? It's about the people. It's about coming together, a shared interest, a shared set of values. How do you actually think about the essence of what makes a luxury cigar club, and what was the vision before you started on this whole journey and endeavor?
I think
I was gonna say, Chris, you want to take this one?
I think to begin with, in all reality, there was no true vision. We built the vision as we went. The core principle that we really built the club on was to design an experience that we ourselves would be happy to be involved in. A subscription service for cigar lovers that we would be happy to get every month in our mailboxes. Outside of that, there wasn't a lot of vision until we really started to understand the market and what was needed and what was important. And we realized very early on that community was at the core of everything that cigar smoking is. That's our observation of it anyway. Whether you are at home with your brother or your son, or on the golf course with your buddies, or all by yourself on a Zoom meeting or a HERF, or at the lounge or an event, it's always a community driven experience. Even if you're just walking down the street and you see another guy walking towards you smoking a cigar, you automatically feel like you're friends with that person. That's my experience anyway. So once we realized that was at the core of everything, we really focused our efforts on that community drive. We have social groups, we have events around the country that we focus on this community growth and this community feel. And so our vision moving forward now is look, deliver the best possible product that we absolutely can, something that we ourselves would be happy to receive. We're both subscribers of the club, so we receive everything that we ship. And also design as much community around this very small, very passionate group of hobbyists or enthusiasts, or however you'd like to define it, in the movements that we make within the business. Can you
If I
can you hear me?
may
Oh,
ask,
okay.
like, how, how did you gentlemen actually got together? Like, when was the first time that you decided this is something that we're both passionate about? This is a journey that we want to embark on, and you wanted to build this thing together.
So Chris and I met each other, actually something totally unrelated. We used to race cars together, and we were in this league. It's a national league, but we were, of course, in the same state. So that's where we met each other. We both enjoyed cigars, but it wasn't something that was, we bonded over. But we always used to entrepreneur together with little things. We were both in totally different occupations, but we always looked for little endeavors and stuff to do together. We did, and then when we had an opportunity, let's say, to start something small like this, again, like one of our other entrepreneurial expeditions, we jumped on it with both hands, and it basically grew from there. So we like to say jokingly, we started doing this because we wanted to smoke cigars for cheap. What better way than to be the peddler?
That's the reason that every cigar company starts, I think. My advice is don't do it. Don't do it.
Think very well before you do. And so when we started doing it and it started growing or started performing very well, we automatically started expanding it to different or let's from a small retail business to then a very small local wholesale to this and that. And then Chris came one day with the idea for this, and I'm like, this is amazing. I'm sure there's something like this. And we started looking, and there was nothing like this. And we're like, listen, we got to do it. This is going to be amazing. And back in that in that time, I would say it was a little harder than today to find those really good cigars, to sift out the gold from the ground a little bit. And I'm very happy to say that in the past few years, the quality and of the cigars that we come across, and the new cigars and the new brands, everything is elevated. Like, if in the beginning we had to smoke so many cigars to find that one diamond that we want to share with everyone, it's actually a little easier now. So for us, I think it was a very organic trip, let's say, going, just doing what's the next level. Even with the club, when we started, we were tiny. We were happy with our growth. We weren't looking to make anything big out of it, but this is what people wanted. And when we built our online community and our Discord server, and then we had all these people from all over the country, but also from all over the world, come together and create bonds and create friendships and basically just come together, then we knew that what we were doing not only felt right, but it was actually the correct thing to do.
You mentioned at the beginning that there was this almost hedonistic, I dare say in a positive way, egoistic approach to venture into this. Your mutual wish to do something together business-wise, your wish to enjoy cigars together and have a means of getting them in. But where did you see that niche, or where did you see that void and the need in the market that you wanted to fill with luxury? And I understand that the vision evolved over time, but where did you feel like, look, this is something that we would love to experience, and we want to fill that void and offer something that the cigar world hasn't seen before?
I think it was when we decided that we wanted to launch a subscription service. We did our research. We found the subscription services that existed in the industry, and we found where they didn't exist. And so we are very lucky in the fact that the open water, the unclaimed land in the subscription segment of the cigar industry happened to align very well with our tastes in cigars, right? There was a lot of clubs that delivered discount or custom product, but nothing that really focused on the upper end, the ultra premium cigar, something 12, 15, 20, $30 in that range. And this happens to be a place that Ben and I both very much like to smoke. We find that there is a lot more quality in that product. Not to say that there's not amazing flavors, amazing cigars at the entire gambit of price point, but you have a lot more opportunity for aged and rarer tobaccos in those higher end price points. And so again, open water and our preferences matched up really well. And so that's really why we decided to move into that segment of this. I think the reason the club came about is because, as Ben said, Ben and I were both in different careers. Ben was in jewelry, I was in corporate finance, and I was working for Wells Fargo at the time. We had a small store, a small brick and mortar retail location, and my entire division nationwide was laid off in one day. They closed the entire division. And so I had a severance package, not a huge one, but one big enough to figure out what to do with my life. And so my brain was just constantly running on how can we take this little brick and mortar store and touch the country with it, offer our take on cigars to the world. And the website, let's sell cigars online, but it was very easy to understand that we would be competing against massive, massive players, massive names. So that's what led us to the subscription-based model. Is like, look, this is a very open space for us to function in right now, especially in this category, because there is no other club in the category. Now there's, since Ben and I started Luxury Cigar Club, we probably saw 30, 40 competitors a year come up. A lot of them have gone, they've come and gone in that time frame. And we've been very lucky, I'll say. I'm very humbled to our customers and our family, that supports us from the beginning, that we are still here and we are still functioning well. And it's been so amazing. So it was really a slight panic move on my part to say, I got to find a way to either monetize what we're doing here, or I got to go work for another bank somewhere doing something else. And after 12 or 13 years of working for the bank, I was really kind of over that entire lifestyle. I now I work harder than I ever have in my entire life, but I love every minute of it.
Yeah, they say you don't want to do the 9-to-5 job, start working for yourself, then you can work 5 to 9.
Yep.
Amen. Now, obviously, you mentioned you were looking at that particular segment of the market that you felt wasn't properly represented in the online community or subscription services that were already out there. Why do you think is that? Do you feel that's primarily because people feel that above a certain luxury threshold, it's all for the analog experience, it's all through the traditional brick and mortar, and people are more reluctant to look for those luxury experiences in an online world?
Clearly that's not the case. Our business wouldn't exist if people felt that way. I know I'm cutting you off, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I think that, and Ben might have a different take on this, so I'm interested to hear what he says. But I think that in reality, the perspective that people have on the price of a cigar, it only represents a portion of the consumer base. You have people that will only smoke $30, $50 cigars, and you have people that will never pay more than $10 for a cigar. And what our club does is give both of those communities access, or both of those groups of people access to that ultra premium cigar category. If you are price, cautious. It gives you access to those cigars at a better value because our subscription service provides better than retail costs versus value. And if you don't have an issue with the cost, but you might be looking to expand your menu, your repertoire, it solves that issue as well. So, we kind of took a shot in the dark. We had no guarantee that it would work, but we felt like, hey, look, we're two dudes that would pay for this. There's got to be more than two of us out here that would pay for this, and knock on wood, there is.
Yeah. And when I said there are no clubs that were doing this, there were a lot of clubs or a lot of, I would say, retailers that were providing a cigar of the month subscription. It's nothing new. I'm assuming it's been going on for 20 years or since, internet became, more commonplace. But what we noticed was there was basically a race to the bottom there. You see one club is, we send 5 cigars for $40, let's say. And then another one says, okay, we send 10 cigars for $30. And then, it's like, what is cheaper? And you get more cigars. And we're like, I don't want any of these. And I know there are a lot of people, like you said, that have been smoking for many, many, many years. And they will go to the lounge and they will smoke a nub every time, or they have their cigar or their go-to, and they smoke it because they just enjoy smoking cigars. And then there's this other category, a cigar enthusiast. I call our cigar nerds or cigar geeks affectionately, because this is more than just a pastime. Okay, I'm gonna play golf and smoke a cigar, or I'm gonna smoke a cigar while I'm doing my backyard. No, I sit down and this is what I'm doing. I'm smoking a cigar and I want to know about it. I want to know who made it. I want to know what it consists of. I want to know everything, the leaves, the aging. I want to understand the process of what it is. And I want to experience the flavors and the different experience that each cigar and each blender and each manufacturer is providing us. And that is the neglected, mostly because it's a much smaller group, right? Or was, at least, but it was very neglected, and there was no product there for our needs. So when we saw that, and again, it was a shot in the dark, because there are a lot of products that are not in the market, and for good reason, because nobody would purchase them. But in this case, with making a little bit of noise, finding the people, providing a great experience, we believe that helped people advertise us, word of mouth, because as you know, there is no way for us to use any of the popular platforms not for monetization, but spending any ad money on Google, on Facebook, on Instagram, nothing like that. The only way for us to do it is providing a great service and having the people that get the service tell their friends, or or buy it for someone else, or, and be our advocates, because that's just the way the market is.
Excellent point.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Chris, please.
I was just gonna add to that. The other piece that Ben mentioned that I think is really important for us is, up until I believe I'll take this award here, but Luxury Cigar Club revolutionized what the cigar subscription industry is. It is because of us that the cigar subscription segment is what it is today. Before us, there was brick and mortars, there were online stores that had a cigar of the month component to them. We are a cigar of the month club by design from the very beginning. And so our core focus is the subscription service. We're not an ancillary product to a large online store or a brick and mortar. And what those, while they have their place, what they do is they take overstock product or discounted product and create their subscriptions. We spend hundreds of hours a month probably sourcing the perfect combination of cigars to be delivered to our subscribers, our family members every single month. So all the love and all the work and all the effort and energy goes into designing these boxes, not just saying, okay, who's got discount, what do we have in overstock, and just putting together a package and shipping it out. It's a truly connoisseur experience, and our subscription, our service is about the experience. It's about the packaging, the way that you receive it, the way that you feel when you're opening it. You know, we've had many people describe it as Christmas every month because you don't know what you're going to get, and then it's an exciting experience for you to say, oh yes, my Luxury Cigar Club box is in the mail, I get to go check it out, I get to see what I got, yay. And so that is a huge component of what we do. We are a club first. Now we've added online store and some other small pieces of business since then, as any natural entrepreneur would do to try to grow their footprint in their business model. But our club is still at the core of our focus. Ben spends his whole entire life every day probably working on sourcing the right cigars. He probably hates me. I'm like, ooh, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, and he has to go track all this stuff down.
Not all my time, only 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's
oh, sorry. My bad.
But yeah,
I think that is a very important add-on, Chris. Chris, I was just about to say that, you know, I'm curious, and Ben, please also elaborate on that with your answer. And apologies if I cut you off there.
No.
Did you feel any resentment or any pushback from certain brands where they didn't like the idea of presenting their luxury portfolio and their top end lines or cigars to be represented online versus the traditional brick and mortar route?
Oh yes, that's a great question, by the way. And while it wasn't very prevalent, there were some brands that we still haven't showcased that have still to this day had a very strong rejection to that. They wanted to be brick and mortar only, or even if not, they wanted to make sure, since there are a lot of other clubs or so that would take advantage of this, or would take advantage of, I don't know if even saying taking advantage is the right word, but they would basically use these brands to elevate themselves in some way or another. And for us, that's why we made this our basically this is it's a big part of what we do. We make sure to explain and show all of our partners, all of our vendors, that we first and foremost respect them and respect their wishes. And if they want no discounts, there will be a 0 discount on their product. And if they want something showed in a certain way, that's how it's going to go. It's never going to be, okay, I bought whatever, I have some left, okay, blow out, I'm going to blow this out because I don't want it in inventory, or, you know, or sell, you know, use their cigar to sell very hard to sell cigars in a bundle or stuff like that. It's always in a very respectful, in a very, you know, their interest is the first interest in mind when it comes to what we do. We will never take advantage of it and turn it. But in some cases, there are some brands that either have relationships with other brands or other clubs or other online retailers that they have a loyalty to some degree. I totally respect that. That's okay. And they wouldn't want to work with us in some, not us specifically, but with anybody else, or in this very specific format. And that's also acceptable. But it is obviously, everybody has their, I mean, I can name some names. I don't think it's important, but there are several companies that we would love to work with. And I think that our members would love receiving and experiencing some of these things that are either out of their reach because no retailer in their area carries them, or it's out of their range because all they have is, their cigar budget is X, and they will use it to buy or for the membership, and then they only get 5 cigars. So it's up to us what they smoke this month. So it's obviously it's a natural way of business. I don't know if I think Chris agrees with me, but if he doesn't,
no, I agree completely, and I think that there's a foundational shift in the way the consumer operates, especially in modern society, that some brands have yet to embrace fully, right? Ben and I both know exactly what brands we're talking about. They're brands that we would love to work with, but they provide a brick and mortar only product, or they're harder to attain products are brick and mortar only, or they have products that we'd like to work with that are brick and mortar only. And it's a very interesting thing that's happening in the market. Ben and I both believe that brick and mortar stores are the backbone of what this industry is. If all the tens of thousands of stores around the country and the world didn't exist, no cigar manufacturer would be making the cigars, right? Because the online retailers that exist could not touch all of these people. But the modern consumer is more focused online, right? We can look back. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I just had gotten a cell phone, but everything was, you walk to the store, you go to the store, you buy it at the store, you had your local guy for everything. Now my kids don't know what going to a store is. DoorDash or deliveries or Facebook or Instagram or Amazon, it's all online. And the cigar industry will have to make that move eventually, because most people will buy something else. Most modern smokers anyway will buy something else versus going to the store if they can order it online. So I think that there is a kind of struggle right now back and forth. The lounges will always have their place because most people can't sit at home in their living room, smoke a cigar, and watch the football game. So I understand that benefit, and I think everybody understands that benefit. But all of our customers, and I mean every single one of them, spend money with us and spend money at their local brick and mortars every single month. They probably spend more money at their brick and mortars, but the money that they're spending with us is stuff that they can't buy at their brick and mortars, not the other way around. And so I think it's a very interesting thing. I think that if you have an online retailer and you're a cigar brand, if you have an online retailer that is willing to respect the product that you're selling, which means no deep discounts on it or no discounts at all, good product representation, good brand representation, that is as beneficial to the brand as having it on the shelf at a shop, especially with a company like us. If we sell $1,000 box of Byron, for instance, and a customer receives it and it's not up to their expectations, we will make it right. We'll take it back. We'll give them a refund. We'll give them store credit, something. We'll do something to make them happy. So while there's an extra step involved, they can't walk into the store and put their hands on it. There is a way for us to solve that problem. And there is a way for us to provide that same fantastic experience that you would receive in a brick and mortar lounge. And you can call us or you can email us and message us on Instagram or whatever and find out everything that the local tobacconist knows. And in some cases, probably a lot more. So this is a question that I love because it's an interesting dynamic between brick and mortar online sales and the manufacturers. And when you add the club side of it on, there have been times where a brand has said, this is brick and mortar only. And we're like, okay, well, what about if we just put it in the club? And it's like, wow, wait, this is a great middle ground. It's not available for sale online. Customers can't sign up for this box because they know this is coming, because they don't know what's coming before the box ships. And so they get representation into markets or households that they may not otherwise be able to touch with their current network of brick and mortar stores. And they're not selling online. So there's solutions to these conversations. It's going to take some of these older manufacturers and brands time to understand that the market is changing. And my favorite example is Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster is a brick and mortar of the movie rental world, and it's gone. Netflix is the only thing that exists now because it's more convenient for the consumer. and this is a very strong parallel. It's not exactly equal, but it is a strong parallel that can be drawn into any market. The consumer is voting to spend their dollars where it's convenient for them to spend, not where they have historically spent it.
Excellent points, and I firmly believe this is the core of this entire conversation around traditional brick and mortar versus the online world. And yes, we see it in every single industry. Companies like Amazon, Uber, the Facebooks and Googles of this world, they have truly disrupted every single industry and have changed how people expect to be treated as customers. And our lives have dramatically changed over the past 20 odd years with the arrival of those online services. And I believe it's very important to have an open and honest conversation about this. And I would agree that probably certain brands and of course the retail community, of course, they're reluctant to have that conversation because it's challenging certain traditional business models and the way we think about the industry as a whole. And the question at the core truly is, how do you manage innovation and disruption in an industry that so heavily relies and rests on century-old knowledge being passed down from generation to generation, and we all love the tradition and the history component of the industry, and that still to this day it works in certain ways that are the antithesis to the modern, fast-paced online world. I mean, let's face it, this here is, I believe, the perfect product for our time, where everything is just fast-paced. And what the humble cigar always reminds us of is to take time for yourself, for a great conversation. It reminds us of appreciating not only the finer things in life, but the precious time that we have, and that we want to spend it in the most qualitative way. Do you believe that, like, what are the criticism, right? Is it that brands fear that they will lose some of the traditional brick and mortar retailers because they feel they're challenged in a competitive way by the online world, and thus they stay away from it? And same for the retail community. I mean, you obviously challenge them on what's the actual experience that you provide, what kind of service can you offer, and how do you communicate and address your most important stakeholders, and that's the customer.
I think that I think I'll answer and then Ben can. Sorry, Ben. I think that the most important aspect of this entire conversation is what the consumer wants, right? It doesn't matter what you want as an industry or what you want as a brand owner or what you want as a business owner. It matters only what the consumer wants. And all the online business that exists is a very clear demonstration that the consumer is very happy to have online representation of cigar sales. And those same consumers are also spending their dollars inside brick and mortar lounges. I think the onus is on the retailers, both online and brick and mortar, to understand what the consumer demands and provide that demand. If that business is unable to provide that demand, they will either, die, or they'll be the Blockbusters of the world, or they'll be the whatever HBOs of the world that finds a way to become relevant in the new way that the consumer wants to consume whatever product or service that's being offered. I think that once the retailer base as a whole decides this is the direction they want to go, which will take years, right? This is not like a 1 year thing. This is a 20, 30, 50 year thing. The manufacturers will also do exactly what their customers are asking for, if the majority of the customers are asking for it, because the customers will vote with their dollars. The customer to the retailer will vote with their dollars, and the retailer to the manufacturer will vote with their dollars. And the second thing that I'd like to point out is the cigar experience hasn't changed much, right? Sitting down, lighting cigar, hanging out with your friends is the same as it was 200 years ago. But the cigar industry itself has gone through significant and massive changes, where we talk about the nationalization of Cuban tobacco, the growth and development of new world cigar making countries with the Dominican Republic, and cigars were made in the U.S. in a large way, all the way from cigars no one caring about who made them or where they were made, to that being such a significant piece of this business. So the industry itself is very capable of changing. It's very capable of changing, and some of the companies that have been around for 100 years have seen these changes. It's just trying to, there will be a precipice where they either have to stay the way they are or they have to change. And if they don't change, whoever it is, whether it's a retailer or a manufacturer, won't be relevant anymore. And the market will decide that on its own. So I love the Netflix versus Blockbuster mindset, because it's a very good representation of what is happening in the cigar industry right now. Ben and I are brick and mortar owners. We have a brick and mortar store, so we understand both sides of this. And we started with a brick and mortar store, so we understand the benefit. But there's a way to provide, as a manufacturer, there's a way to provide benefit to both segments of that market, and both of those consumer types, without hurting either one. So it's a very unique dilemma that the cigar industry finds itself in, and it's very exciting to be in it, to be honest, to see, I mean, even in the past 4 years, how significantly it has changed, and how significantly the market has changed.
And I see that, one of the important issues with this is that everybody wants to take care of their customers. So as a cigar manufacturer, my customers are mainly brick and mortars. So I will not sell to the end consumer by myself, right? Because I would be competing with my customers. They will probably not like it. I want them to buy more. I want them to do well, and so on and so forth. But going back to what you said originally about this industry being unchanged for hundreds of years, because our product is something that cannot evolve, right? The only technological evolution it can go through is machining it, and then once we machine it, it's not a premium product anymore, right? So we don't do that. We have cigars that are machine rolled. It's not what we smoke. It's not what I'm assuming people here smoke on a daily basis. But another thing about the cigar industry, that it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is river to be the original advertising. Basically, advertising grew out of that. If you were selling cigars, how do you distinguish between them? So people had to put bands on them or something, and then that started evolving. Who has the nicest band? Who has what catches your eye more? Because we see before we even touch or smell or definitely smoke them, so we want to choose it, and that's what evolved a little bit. So now in this day and age, we are still, the play is on that. Is like, how can I advertise it better? How can more people see it? How can I make it more attractive? In the humidor, I'm pointing at our brick and mortar humidor here. It is pretty simple. It's okay. Is the cigar, does it look attractive? Does it have a nice band, a nice box? Does it give me, do I want to try and smoke it? Of course, I smoke it, then I like it or not. If I like it, I buy another one. But if I'm not at the brick and mortar, who has the reach to the customer? Because in our time right now, the battle is one, of course, like Chris said, and we all agree, is convenience, right? I buy 90% of the things I need on Amazon because I just click a few buttons and it shows up at my door. And secondly, it's a matter of attention. The fight is for attention right now on all the platforms, on all, who's first on Google. If you can have an ad here, an ad there, everything. So I think some of the resistance that the manufacturers have or have had for the past 2 or 3 years, since, we can call it a cigar boom or, golden age or some kind of precious metal, is that there was very, very high demand. It was very easy to sell out of whatever you made for the most part, especially for the well-known brands. And when it gets to that point, you have to start allocating your resources because you can only make whatever X amount of cigars a year. And I have to decide who gets to do it. And then my brand, of course, is my main priority. I want to make sure I do not dilute it. I do not represent it poorly with or through other people. You know, if some people are just standing in the corner selling Padrones, I'd be like, okay, Padrone is a street corner cigar. I don't want that. I want something that is presented nicely. So I think once everything, you know, once the dust settles a little bit, it's going to be easier for everybody to stop and see exactly what is the correct path for them to go forward.
I absolutely agree. And the feedback that we're getting from the people joining us and watching on Facebook also goes in the same direction. I believe what matters is the mutual respect for different ways of going about the business. And I honestly never thought of it as a necessary conflict between the online and the traditional brick and mortar. I think both are incredibly important at enhancing everybody's cigar experience, offering different platforms and ways of bringing value and sharing education and knowledge about the product and the industry as a whole. And I just wanted to briefly go back on what you both said earlier. Do you believe that ultimately what it all boils down to in terms of a competitive setting is the experience online through LCC, for example, has to be spot on and represent the product perfectly, but then also keeping the price policy intact? And if you respect MSRP, for example, I mean, there's hardly any argument about a competitive situation between the traditional B&M and the online world. Would you agree, in particular, the price aspect?
The price aspect is a interesting question because, as we all know, there are several online retailers that don't respect MSRP pricing. We very much feel that it is our responsibility to respect MSRP pricing, and it puts us on a very even playing field with brick and mortar lounges. We can at least say that they're not shopping with us because we're 20% less expensive than the brick and mortar lounge. The prices are or should be the same, right? Or roughly the same, depending on taxes in the state and things like that. And so it is really the responsibility of the manufacturers to enforce their pricing rules. We very specifically try to avoid working with brands that are deeply discounted on other online websites because it is not something that we want to do. We want to, if you tell us this cigar is worth $11, that's what we intend to sell it for, because that's what the brick and mortar is selling it for. That's what you have said that it's worth. And like Ben said, if people believe that Padron is a street corner buy 20 for $10 cigar, that will be what that brand is worth. And it just truly isn't. Anyone that has spent any time in a cigar factory will know how really affordable cigars truly are, given the amount of effort and energy from the farms to the processing, to the manufacturing, to the shipping, to the distribution, to the licensing, all the things that go into making a cigar. They're actually very affordable given all of that goes into it. And so it's a hard thing for us when we see heavy discounts on great brands, because it devalues the brand significantly. So there is a dichotomy that's happening that is really interesting, because everybody, I think Ben said it earlier, there's not everybody, but a lot of brands are competing for spend, and the way that it's happening is driving prices to the bottom, which is the worst absolute thing for the cigar industry as a whole, which is why we have decided very strongly to everything on our website's MSRP, unless there's some sort of special that's happening, some sort of thing that the manufacturer has said, hey, do this, or hey, you can do this, for this time only. And if we do a sale, it's across our entire product offering. It's us saying, we are taking a hit on this product to provide you a special for Black Friday, for instance, or for our anniversary or something that we're celebrating. But it's not singling out a brand or a product. It's everything. This is us saying thank you to our customers for being customers. Not, hey, go get AJ Fernandez for 50% off. That is not a good representation of the brand or the effort or energy that goes into producing the brand. So it's a really, really interesting thing. I think if all the online retailers sold at MSRP and all the brick and mortar sold at MSRP, it would really narrow the competition gap between the two, and it would really drive experience to the consumer and not necessarily price. Where am I getting the best experience? Online, you can go in and you can look at the cigar and you can find out everything, the wrapper, the binder, the filler, a history about all the cigar manufacturer and everything that's happening there. In the store, you will get some of that, but not as much. But you can touch it, you can see it, you can smell it. You know, so both outlets offer something unique in that sense. And when you equalize price, you drive experience. The experience you're delivering is a selling point, and that's what's important. Then it's, you know, people shop on Amazon because, you know, the laundry detergent they buy there is the exact same laundry detergent as they buy online or in the store. The prices are basically the same, but they don't have to go buy it. You know, they don't have to get up, put their clothes on and go buy it. They can order it from their bedroom or their toilet or wherever they prefer to do their shopping, you know, and it's an experience, right? Amazon is driving a different experience for those consumers. So I think that's what narrows the gap in my mind. I think that changes everything very significantly. If everyone's paying the same price everywhere, now it's okay, well, I shop with Luxury Cigar Club because it's the best experience. I shop with my brick and mortar because Dale, my lounge guy, always takes the best care of me. He always is attentive, blah, blah, blah. And then your customers can vote. They can go where they want. They can shop where they want. And it's not like, oh, I can get this for $20 less than I can get it here. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to ignore.
But it is
also, Chris, I feel like what it ideally does is it challenges both worlds to truly be on top of their game, right? And it does not necessarily create just a competitive situation where people are trying to fight each other. Quite the opposite. What you're rather doing is challenging the status quo to raise the bar for everybody, and thus elevating the industry to a level of experience that is just at the very best, right?
And I take like luxury car manufacturers, Ferrari, Lamborghini, things like that. They don't say, oh, we're going to make a cheaper Ferrari and sell out of it. They say, no, we're going to offer something that Lamborghini doesn't offer, and it's going to cost you $1 million more, however much it costs. And these, you know, they're not competing on price, they're competing on experience. When you compete on price, you end up with like the Ford Focus and Toyota Corolla and things like that, right? Where you're just trying to make the cheapest vehicle you can. And so when it's all about the experience, and this is just my perspective, Ben and I haven't discussed this a lot, to be honest, because we've always been of the mindset of we're going to deliver the best experience we can. So we've had no need to have this real conversation here. But in my head, that's what it is. You provide something that no one else can provide, and you will win the customer base regardless of the price in most cases. And that's the reality. DoorDash is the most expensive way to buy food on the planet, right? But people do it every single day, some people all day, because the experience is much better than going and waiting at Taco Bell or, you know, whatever restaurant you DoorDash or sushi or whatever it is. It's an experience-driven benefit.
It is, because we have basically the only company. So any cigar company can basically take cigars, put them in a box, and ship them to you. So what are we better? You know, we have to find something that singles us out a little bit from that and elevates us from that. So one thing is, of course, the experience that we provide. If we take the Amazon example, then, you know, some products I will go, I'll find a better price somewhere else, but I see it on Amazon. It costs a few dollars more. I don't know what it is. I know that when I get it, if I don't like it, I can send it back. I know that actually, I know I'm going to get it tomorrow morning. I don't, if I buy it on eBay, I can save $50, but it says it'll be delivered between 7 and 30 days or something like that. I want it now. I want to know, to have the peace of mind that if anything goes wrong, I am covered. So one of our guarantees, for example, is that your experience, because that's all we are selling, really. We're selling an experience. Like I said, everybody can put cigars in a box and send them out. But if anything is wrong, we make it right. So if I get email or a phone call or a message from one of our members saying, hey, what's up? Hey, I just want you to know that one of the cigars, I'm like, stop right there. Just tell me what cigar. I'm going to send you another one. I don't care what happened, if it's cracked, if it's this, if it's that, it's not perfect. All we are selling is an experience and the enjoyment of it, the fun of it, and not just a product, not just a physical thing that, you can basically get anywhere else.
Very true. Brian, chime in. You had a question, buddy.
Yeah. Hey guys. Good morning.
Hey.
Or good afternoon. Good evening. This is really enjoyable. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. For sure. It's funny. Back in my having really terrible jobs phase in my life, I actually was managing Hollywood video store here in Southern California, because you were mentioning the Blockbuster thing, and I was in charge of a couple of liquidation sales when they were starting to shut down, just like one store right after the other, and it was a crazy experience. Once the liquidation comes in, Hollywood Video's out, another company takes over, all sales are final. We were just hanging out playing video games. It was anyway. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. No one could complain about the I'm sorry, it doesn't work. I don't know what to tell you. All sales final. But one thing about that, I think, for me, that's different when that those businesses in that industry crumbled, wasn't necessarily just because we were getting our movies and TV from a different place. It was a complete change in how the entertainment was coming to you. DVDs were just going away entirely. I think one thing that's different with cigars is we won't ever just download a cigar into our body. There's always the CD, the physical element of it. Is not going to be a thing that will disappear.
Elon Musk is working on it. No, I think you're making actually a really strong point. The physical element will never disappear, but that's not to say that a brick and mortar can't have the same thought process that Ben and I did when we started as a brick and mortar and said, how do we touch more customers? How do we expand ourselves? And it's not the content that's changing so much. We still watch movies every day, TV shows. It's just a delivery method. And that's the same thing between brick and mortar lounges and online sales. It's only the delivery method that is changing. So you're right. We'll probably never be able to, download into our space microwave a cigar off the internet, which would be fucking amazing. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss. That would be one of the most amazing things in the world. But it's still, Hollywood Video could have easily looked at what Netflix was doing and said, we should probably offer a streaming service. And had they done that when Netflix was brand new in its infancy, they could be a competitor in the space rather than not in the space at all. And that's the mindset that I believe a brick and mortar lounge should be functioning in. It's not, let's get rid of our brick and mortar, but let's offer our consumers another way to access our product if they want to, and let them decide how they want to spend the money, how they want to access the product. Because if us two idiots can start an online store and a club, I promise you anyone is capable of it. We've not done anything special here. So it's very possible. And that gives them the same access that we might have, or any other online retailer might have, especially to their consumer base that they already have. That's what my argument is just evolve with what the consumer demands.
And more than that, even, from the days of Hollywood Video and all these, brick and mortar videos, are we watching less Are is the market smaller for that type of product? No, it's actually grown. I don't think there's one person here that is not consuming some type of entertainment from any, if it's even if it's a Facebook Live, or something like that. The market has grown substantially. Every single person has access to it, so every single person takes advantage of it. One of our goals as growing this community has always been, we're not trying to take market share from brick and mortars. We're not trying to take market share from other cigar subscriptions or other online. We're trying to create something that is accessible to everyone, that will attract more people. And we're big believers of the theory, that a rising tide raises all the boats. We're not, we are trying to make this community something beautiful that will attract a lot of new smokers, and maybe, current smokers that are in a certain way, maybe they smoke a little more, maybe they, switch back and forth. Our members that we brought in, they go back and forth too, so it just grows the pool. And I think it's a great thing for the cigar industry. I know a lot of traditional retailers are afraid of it, because any change is frightening. You don't know what's going to happen. But I agree 1000% with Chris that, you have to evolve or die. This is a different world. Marketing is different nowadays. You have to sell where people, if you used to stand in the corner and sell your padrones, and now everybody is just teleporting from one place to another, your business is going to die, not because your product isn't good, but because the market just moved somewhere else. You got to move with it. Otherwise, you're just going to stand there and you're going to have to smoke your cigars by yourself all the time. So
and you can look at shopping malls in America as a prime example of this, right? Every city used to have how many shopping malls that were full of people all the time. Now I bet every single person here can think of at least one or two or three or four malls that you go into, and they're ghost towns. People don't go to the mall anymore. And those right? I mean, that's kind of the way that
it's
you
funny.
want to shop.
Well, I was going to bring up malls, actually. I think this is hilarious, because I think the brick and mortar and the online will always balance, like you're saying they will. And here's the reason why I think that the stores are not going to disappear like the video stores did, because there's an experience there. Like you're saying, it's all about that. So malls didn't, I mean, some completely went away, but here in LA, what happened was just a ton of construction. And what happened is a lot of the retail stores went away. I don't know, they got rid of the Gap or whatever, where you were just going and shopping. People went online. I love shopping online. I haven't been to a store in 2.5 years. We get except for cigars. I've gone into my cigar lounge and bought. But other than that, everything comes to the door. So the convenience of it is huge. But what was replacing these places at the mall was restaurants. People want to go do something and experience something. And so lounges, like if you're a retailer and you can go and sit with people physically and have a cigar and have that experience, I think they're not going to disappear. So I wonder if you agree with that. And I also wonder if you feel like the cigar retailers that have a lounge, stay and hang out component are doing better and are going to have an easier time surviving than places that are just retail, like, then don't have the lounge part, because it's hard to compete with online.
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
No, I agree with that 100%. I think, if we want to look at malls or any type of store like that, the future, I mean, you have to have some kind of advantage, right? So I think either malls are going to turn into basically 3D catalogs. You go in there, it's going to be like an Amazon store. I think they even tried that. You go there, you can experience and you can touch and you can look through those things, and then go and buy it online, and it'll show up at your door a little later that day. And I know they even played around with the idea of having like a 3D experience, a VR experience where you walk around and you can pick up actual products. And then why go to the mall, right? Because you go to the mall, you look at things, you're like, oh, this TV looks great. Oh my God, it's $1,500. I just Googled the model number and it's $900 online. So I'm going to buy it there. So either they drop their prices significantly to match, because most of those products have an actual comparison. And like a TV doesn't go bad if you don't keep it at 70% humidity, right? And so you don't really need that. You can have like really big just walk around experiences, and they're probably gonna slowly keep on disappearing. The experience of going to the mall and hanging out is not what it used to be, because you don't have the dopamine either. You used to go there, you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy something I really want, I'm gonna come back home and I'm gonna be excited about it. What's it called, retail therapy. And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't exist anymore. Usually if I'll go to buy something, it's a gift for someone or something like that, and I don't get that rush anymore. When I go to a cigar lounge, yes, I do get that. And just to touch on your second point, absolutely, I think that again, the essence of the cigar industry is a sit down lounge, is the fact that you can go and you can sit with people and you can talk to people and you can really, enjoy an experience that, same as, with all the differences, right? Going to the cinema, I still go. I have all those movies if I click a button and pay $5, but I go and I pay $50 for it because I like the popcorn there, but it's 2 hours of an experience that I can't get at home. And I'll keep doing that because and if you look at the movies, they changed. You don't have a theater with 200 seats and and it's packed. You have 20 seats in a theater. It's a lounging chair. You have a waiter bringing you food if you want or whatever, taking care of you. It evolved as well because they know what we want. And we should sit and think as consumers first, what do we want? And then see if we can translate that into something that we give our audience.
Ben, that is exactly what I meant when I said, ideally, these worlds benefit each other and elevate each other, because in the most natural and positive sense, we challenge each other to become better at who we are and what we do. And that, I believe, is the respectful way of going about the whole conversation, to try and, as you rightfully said, the raising tide elevates all the ships, right? So I think that is truly key. Because you mentioned availability and accessibility, I'm curious, how do you go about different markets, and obviously with that comes a whole new world of different regulations, custom issues. How do you think about that, and how did you address that in the past? Is luxury available internationally? Which markets have you looked into, and how do you deal with all the regulatory and custom issues that come with it?
Well, it's simple. Go ahead, Chris. Do you want to take it?
We deal with them as they come. We I think right now we're in 48 countries roughly. And we have very little issues, but sometimes there are customs issues. We do our best to comply with all the regulations and standards that exist, but again, it's not possible all the time. And so it comes down to our original commitment of trying to provide the best experience that we can. If we ship you something and it doesn't make it to you or makes it to you with an issue or whatever, a conversation with us will solve that problem. We'll do everything that we can to make it right. For anyone that has done business internationally, even if you follow every rule, every dotted I and every crossed T perfectly, it still will go wrong sometimes. And that is the nature of international commerce. And we do our best to function in that world as we can, but we handle the problems as they come. If we tried to predict all of them or solve all of them first, we'd probably be, our 5 to 9 would be a 5 to 5.
And mostly we look at it in the correct way, that in most countries, so we only ship to countries where it's legal to ship tobacco into, of course. But I would say more than 90% of the cases, the customer is the importer. So when we ship to them, we ship, of course, according to all the laws here. But once it gets there, it's on their side to either get it through custom or whatever arrangements they have to do. There's no way for us to know what it is. So we follow their instructions of what is necessary to do, and if there are issues, we do our best to help.
That's a great point. And the other issue you also briefly mentioned it is obviously how to advertise. And in most cases, we know with tobacco there is no advertisement. What are the ways that you have strategically put in place in order to spread the word and get the message across? Is it truly through word of mouth? And I know you have a very special set of ambassadors or people who very actively bring that experience to other people. Matthias Klock, who was on the lounge as well, he's doing a great job with providing extremely high quality visuals, for example, on Instagram. What's your thoughts on that?
We've built our community, our family on some form of word of mouth. Sometimes it's a supported word of mouth, like with Matthias or other social points of influence or YouTube or things like that. But there is no real way to put money, advertising dollars, and get revenue back. Like if you were selling coffee or a widget, right? You can put advertising dollars in and you can get revenue back. You may not get all of it back, but you'll get some revenue back. It doesn't exist here. So it's really been built on word of mouth and referral. There's some statistic out there that says 90% of referrals from a trusted source are taken. If I call Ben and I say, hey, I need to find a guy that does this, he gives me a guy's number, I call that guy. I don't go shop for any other guy. I probably do business with that guy, even if it's not the best price or the best place to do it, because I have my buddy, my best friend telling me, this is the guy that you go use. And so at the same time, if you are looking for cigar subscription and your friend says, oh, Luxury Cigar Club is the best, I'm so happy with them. That's the most valuable advertising that you can possibly get. It converts at the highest rate. It generates the highest level of revenue, and it costs almost nothing. All it costs us is providing the best possible service that we can to you when you receive our products. And it, we've all been in that experience where you have an issue and it's like you have to fight with a company to get them to resolve the issue. We don't want to be that. We're gonna do something wrong. Something's gonna happen wrong. We want you to leave that experience with going, dang, Luxury Cigar Club took amazing care of me. I know that if I have a problem again in the future, they'll take good care of me again. And that's the best way to make a consumer loyal to you, is to provide that sort of quality, that sort of thing. And that's the best way to create new consumers out of the existing consumers you already have. And I think that's basically what we've done. We don't advertise a Cigar Aficionado or Half Wheel Cigar and Spirits magazine. We've looked into it before, but we've just stuck with just doing the best that we can. And it's been so beneficial to us that the last time that Cigar or Tobacco Business magazine did they do their awards program they didn't do it last year, but the year before that they did it. We won Tobacconist of the Year, being only 2.5 years old in the industry. And it's all based on word of mouth and the service and the presence that we offer.
Yeah, support from our customers and the loyalty that we give out, that we show our customers when they have an issue is a big key of that. It's not just, okay, we expect you to be loyal to us because you ordered cigars and you got them. No, because actually bad experiences make the I'm gonna say loyal, even though I don't like that word too much. But bad experiences that are corrected make the loyalist of customers, or make the strongest bond between you and a customer, because they know they had something bad and you turn it into something really sweet. And that's part of the secret. If you're doing this and never think about the short term. Oh, I sold somebody a cigar and it cracked, but it's just it's just right by the foot. It's a tiny crack. You're not gonna feel it. No, give it back. Here you go. Here's a perfect experience for you. or it didn't smoke well, it was plugged. Give it back. Here you go. This is the perfect experience. So you spend another $5, you spend another 10, you spend another 100 on this customer, but he'll come back and he'll shop with you 100 times. Or, or if you're like, no, you smoke it, this is good enough for you. You're like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm gonna go somewhere else where they appreciate me more. And as a consumer, I've done that. I'm like, if I don't feel whole after a negative experience, which I totally understand, it happens to everyone. We probably mess up, I don't know how many times, because we're just human. This is not a big machine that's just rolling. And every time it happens, our biggest department is our customer service. They pick up the phone, they chat, they do everything. They run by the warehouse just to correct it, just to make sure everything is 100%, that your experience, which I'm going to emphasize, is the product that we're selling at the end of the day, is perfect.
Now, because you mentioned cigar media, that is an interesting topic that I would like to explore a little bit with you. What's your feeling about the evolution in cigar media, and then particularly for LCC as well? How do you feel about the feedback that you're getting from some of the cigar media? And you spoke about one example there. Do you also sense there is a slight hesitancy to feature those online channels through the more traditional cigar media outlets?
I don't think there's a hesitancy. I think it comes down to, with some of the more traditional ones, I won't say any names, but the big ones that have been around for a long time, it comes down to pay to play. If you're willing to write the check, they're generally willing to display you in some way, shape, or form. And while that might be beneficial for us, it's just not something we've ever explored too deeply, because we find that we want to grow again, that word that we don't like so much, a loyal consumer base, and we rather grow it slowly with avid consumers than touch everybody and do a lot of business all at once, and then maybe not capture so many of those consumers again. So slow and steady wins the race in our case. And there's been a really big shift in cigar media, not at the upper echelon tier, not at the A grade tier like Cigar Aficionado or Half Wheel, Tobacco Business Magazine or something like that, but more at the the entry level tier, where you're looking at Instagram and small podcasts and things like that. It's become a very large segment of the cigar media piece, and it's a very influential segment. But there is also a lot of danger there, because Ben and I know factually that there's some very large, somewhat largely trusted influencers or areas of news or cigar information out there that don't even smoke cigars. And so there's a very interesting dynamic at play right now in that space. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on doing is knowing our product through and through. When we send a cigar in one of our boxes, we taste it. We make sure that it's constructed well, that it burns consistently more than once, right? I can't guarantee you'll like the flavor, but at least we can guarantee that it will be a well-constructed cigar. We spend time in cigar manufacturing countries, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. We go to factories, we meet blenders, we understand the tobacco suppliers that they use, the box suppliers, the band suppliers, the complete supply chain, what importers they use. So we can get a good idea of what the experience will be when we work with this brand. And we have that education. We do the same thing when we're working with any cigar media outlet. We do our homework. We try to understand that, is this a trusted source and a reliable source of information, or is it more, just clickbaity type, look at me, get your product posted somewhere? And so again, we can't guarantee that you're going to like our product the way that it tastes, but we can at least guarantee consistency in the delivery and consistency in the experience. And that's what we strive for when we're doing this. We're not just buying whatever, whether it be marketing, advertising, or cigars, and just doing it. we're doing the work, we're doing the legwork. You know, I think between the two of us, Ben and I were out of country 12 times last year, going to factories, checking out brands, meeting blenders, and we have these amazing relationships that have come from that. And those relationships net us product and access and quality that we would otherwise not have. And so that's where we put our energy in. We put our energy into the relationships. Matthias has been with us for such a long time. We trust his quality. We trust his sense of the cigar industry. And that's why we've been so loyal to him. And there's other brands that we've been extraordinarily loyal to because we have full faith that they're going to deliver on their commitments. And the people that we work with delivering on their commitments makes it possible for us to deliver on our commitment, which is, again, as we've said a million times, the most important thing to us.
Now, one aspect with cigar media is how hard it's becoming to remain visible with all the restrictions and regulations. A lot of quote unquote influencers have experienced tremendous setbacks with YouTube. We often discuss here on the show if it's just a matter of time before Facebook and Instagram will probably ban tobacco content entirely. How do you think about that moving forward? And what are some thoughts and strategies that you have put in place if that becomes reality at some point? How do you make sure that you remain visible to your loyal people and continue to have an impact and reach once we lose some of those platforms?
That's the $1 million question. So we already are seeing that. Of course, we are active on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all the other social media channels that are available at this point. But we're already seeing a lot, and I know a lot of our competitors or colleagues are experiencing them as well. It's shadow banning. It's basically restricting your reach to people that actually want to consume. So we have tens of thousands of followers that in the most cases are not receiving our information, or our pictures, our stories, and stuff like that on these social media platforms. And it's definitely an issue. It's mostly an issue just with attaining maybe new followership. But what we are doing is trying to enhance our relationship with the customers that we already have. If it's through our own social server on Discord, if it's through emails, if it's through phone calls, even if it's through events and other projects, just trying to create to enhance the community that we have and making it big and strong. So that core of very, again, loyal members will keep spreading out the word about it.
Yeah, I agree fully. I agree fully. And Elon Musk might be a good thing for Twitter. Twitter is not a very heavily used platform in the cigar space, but maybe it might convert that. If Instagram, Facebook, it's really hard to plan for what might happen. We very much try to just do what we can moving forward, and it's always customer focused. It's always experience and service focused. So we hope to continue to make, if once a month we make a loyal customer that loves us, we know eventually he's going to open up his Luxury Cigar Club box at his local brick-and-mortar lounge, or he's going to open up his Luxury Cigar Club box at in his group of friends, and he's going to be smoking all this new and exciting stuff that these guys haven't seen, and someone's going to say, "What is that?" And there's our advertising for the day, right there. And I know personally members in our club that have joined to become very, very active pieces of our community through that experience alone. So we're gonna keep investing in that. all I know is that the cigar industry has not ever been killed since its inception. It's only grown and grown and grown. There's no reason to expect that it won't continue to grow. It's just going to continue to find new ways to grow. And what they are, I don't know yet.
We don't know, but what we do hope, at least that will be, and it has been our, I think our advantage maybe from inception, is that it's an even playing field. So I think one of the fact that you cannot pay to play on Google and on Instagram and Facebook and such, and you have to actually create good content and use the tool. There's no new company that can come today and drop $1 million on advertising and tomorrow be, you know, a big competitor or a big player like that. So if they do restrict it completely, or, you know, put new regulations and stuff like that, we are all playing on the same level, and we will all find where we drift together. Because I think for the most part, everybody is using the same platforms and the same outlets to try and you know, again, get the attention of potential consumers.
Absolutely.
Just a quick follow up on that, because you mentioned the level playing field. I absolutely agree with that point, but interestingly enough, I mean, you have a very strong presence on Instagram, for example, and we all know how hard it is today to gain an organic reach through Instagram by the ways of how algorithms change, how those platforms change. If you were to start a new, what are some of the platforms that you'd be looking at, given those mechanisms, how those platforms change, the whole algorithms? Like, what are some of the platforms that have got you excited recently, where you feel this is something where we could still grow organically and get in front of people's faces and into their screens?
I mean, I think I answered that pretty quickly with Twitter. I'm watching very closely what's happening at Twitter, and the evolution in just the few weeks that it has changed ownership has been significant. There's a lot more functionality being offered and delivered pretty regularly that it didn't have. And the way that I predict it is that it will function very much like a Twitter / TikTok / Facebook type community soon. It won't just be a place where people can, you know, randomly dump 255 characters of whatever is on their mind at that point in time. It'll be more of a complete social network. And if Elon Musk does what he says he will do, there should be no reason that cigars aren't accessible and available there. It's simply, will the consumer stop using Instagram as much and start using Twitter more just because the content that they want is being served there? I can't answer that, but that is one platform that I believe will probably become a very strong social network, or, you know, whatever, for the cigar community, as long as it's respected, right? As long as the way that the community as a whole uses a platform. There's been a lot of weird cigars that have been released that are maybe more targeted, or could be perceived as targeted towards children or something like that. That's a no-go in my book, just to begin with. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. We're already under enough scrutiny. Let's not add, you know, fuel to that fire. But in general, I don't know. There's other social media outlets. I think Rumble is a YouTube competitor that we are present on, but there's just zero activity. And the problem with these new platforms is there's so much user base on these old platforms, and so much content and so much energy that has gone into it, that it's very hard for a new platform to go in and take that space if it's not offering something completely new and completely unique to itself, like TikTok did, right? TikTok offered a new thing. Now all the big guys, YouTube, Instagram, they all have a TikTok competitor as part of them, right? It took them all of a month to create reels and things like that on Instagram. So it will have to be a large one converting it's the way that it operates, which is why my hopes are set on Twitter.
Yeah, I think you're correct in that, because it's a combination of two things, right? Where can we advertise? Which, let's say we, like today, it's very hard to gain visibility. But more importantly, like we said before, like if you're selling your cigars in the corner, where is everybody else buying their cigars? If they all left, or even if you're invisible standing in the middle of the street, because that's what you are at this point, then what do? You want to be where your potential customers are. So you have to be one of them. You have to understand what it is that they're looking for and how to give it. I don't have an easy answer. Again, I'm wishing, I don't know if Twitter specifically or something else will pop up, because things constantly change. It used to be Facebook, but everybody knows that Facebook now, it's getting harder and harder even there to gain any traction. But you just have to see where everybody is and try to insert yourself.
Great perspectives. Thank you for sharing. Steve, I believe you had a question and a comment.
Yes, thank you for letting me ask the question. I have a couple of questions. I'm very interested in the Discord. Is that something that's public that everybody can access, or do you have to be a member, or do you share that publicly? And then I also have a couple of follow-up questions. Have you considered using SMS text, which is very effective? I found if you don't abuse it and you just send tailored messages to your customers. And then the last thing is, I'm 47, but I know the next generation of smokers is very interested in these live streaming platforms like Twitch. Some of these people have millions and millions of followers, and I wondered if you considered ever doing live streaming to attract the next generation.
Twitch, I think, has some pretty strict tobacco policies in place. I think a competitor type platform would be a podcast of some sort, which has been in the talks. We do have a text club, SMS text club. You can sign up on our site. There's a link in our Instagram profile as well. And we do offer special things to the text club members only. It's been growing for us pretty well. We do not spam it. I am a member of a text group or a text service from another retailer that is very spammy and so frustrating that I've stopped. So I promise we will not spam you there. We will only send you good things if you do join us there. So please do join us there. As far as the Discord, it is a members only Discord at this point in time. We have discussed a few times about creating a non-members section to do that. I think it's something that we probably will discuss again in the very near future. It is a very active community and it's really fun. And I think it might be one of the best ways for us to offer access to some sort of social network feel that we do know for sure is cigar safe.
So my follow-up is, I'd love to jump on a HERF sometimes with you guys and ask you questions and get to know the community. But if it's for members only, I don't know if that option is available, unless you would make it available.
Ben, yeah, all you gotta do is sign up, luxurycigarclub.com. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, it's not available at this point in time, but I
will send you an invite, Steve.
There you go, done.
Very much appreciated. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
That was quick and easy. Always good to bring people together and share an opportunity for the community to grow. Ben, Chris, before we get to the end of our show, and I'm thoroughly enjoying today's session, and I would like to thank you from heart for all the precious insights that you're offering. What are some of the things that you have in mind or already in the works in order to evolve LCC further? What are some of the things that you have been contemplating on to continue making an impact and a valuable contribution to the premium cigar world?
Oh, Ben, let me answer.
You want to answer?
I want to answer. Thanks, buddy. Listen, this is one thing that we've already started. It's not available right now. It will be available again in the coming months, but we have launched a program called Create. And we are working with Tabacalera La Isla in the Dominican Republic, and it is a community blended cigar project. It is limited in spots, and we've already started the first blend. But basically, it is our way of A, building community, and B, giving consumers that may not have access to the Dominican Republic or Nicaragua the best experience that we can of blending a cigar. So I think this one, we have about 100 people signed up for this Create, and it is the full blending process. We started with 5 sample blends. We're doing surveys, collecting feedback. We'll send that back to the factory, and the factory will create a blend based off of all that information, send it back to us. We'll do a Zoom again with all of the people that are part of Create to then reblend that cigar until we get something that is democratically voted as the best cigar. Then we'll produce it. And I think this is something that's never been done before. You know, other companies have been like, oh, here's a blend, vote on the size and things like that. But this is everything, control of everything, size, flavor, profile, all of those things, working with the master blender at the factory on each step. We had a 2.5-hour long Zoom last time for the first blending session with all of the members of this amazing program. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be a member. And it's been so well received this far that we for sure are going to do it again. And it's been an amazing, amazing experience. And it's a new way for us to interact. And it's a new way for us to connect the consumer with the manufacturer, which I think is one of the most important things that you can do, is help the consumer understand what it is they're smoking, why they're tasting what they're tasting, why it's rolled and manufactured the way that it is. So if you're at all interested in something like that, keep your eyes open, join our text club, join our email list to get more information about Create when it does come out.
I'll just elaborate a little bit. So a big part of what we enjoy doing and what we feel is important for growth, not just in numbers, but in personal growth in the hobby, is the quote unquote education or hands-on education as such. So we a similar project, not similar, but a different project that we did that is called Cigar University, for example. So we created 5 different blends, basically, or 5 same blends with a single component that's different. So 5 same cigars with just a different wrapper, 5 same cigars with all same components except for a different binder or a different filler. And we would send them out, and you get to experience what the same cigar would taste like if you just replaced the Nicaraguan wrapper with the Dominican, and you get to sense the different flavors and what kind of effect it does, and stuff like that helps you understand and delve a little deeper into the project. And it's things that interest us personally, Chris and I. I mean, the reason we did a Cigar University is because we're like, okay, this is something I wanna see. I wanna understand what it is. If I just put this leaf, what would this taste like? And there's nothing like it. So we created it. Or doing Create is like one of our things that we waited a long time to do, actually. We've never made our own blend until we did, but it was also always very curious to us. What does the process look like? What does it involve? What does it entail? And we're like, okay, so now that we know, this is so awesome, let's extend that to members of ours that are curious as well. And we had great, response, and I think people are enjoying it more than any other project that we've done. And that's why we'll definitely do it again. We're always looking for that next thing. So honestly, if you have an idea, something you would want to see, we would love to facilitate it. So we're always thinking about things like that, and we feel like that's one of the things that are the glue of our community.
Yep. Very cool. Much appreciated. A little follow-up to that, because I'm sure you learned a tremendous lot through Create, but also the regular feedback that you're getting from your loyal and devoted customers. What is it that your people are actually looking for? What's the element that they're most interested in, or where do you feel like this is the golden nugget, or the changing factor where people truly make their decision? Because is it the blend? Is it the packaging of the product, the way it looks like obviously the experience component with everything that goes around it, you mentioned that, but in terms of choosing the product, what is it that you feel the customers value, appreciate, and look for the most? And I believe it also goes to, how do you select your own product?
I think that's such a hard question to ask because it's so dynamic across the consumer base. But in general, I think it's total experience is the most important thing. I think if you see a cigar that's packaged beautifully and it delivers a poor experience, you have a certain expectation when you see something that comes in such a gorgeous box and then you light it and it's like this is not good. Why didn't you spend more time on making the cigar good? And the opposite is the same, I think, where you have something that's so delicious, but it comes in an ugly box or an ugly presentation. And I think we'd have a pretty even, if we surveyed everyone, I think we'd have a pretty even response across several different categories that said it's the complete experience that is the most important, is what I think the data would show. Not necessarily the packaging or the flavor. I think in the end, flavor would win out above everything because that is the ultimate experience that we're all searching for. That's a really hard question to answer specifically.
I would
because
say, I'm sorry to cut. I'm just gonna try.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna say it really depends on the maturity of the smoker. So new cigar smokers, people that are just introduced or been smoking for a relatively short amount of time, presentation is more important. Maybe even status somewhat more important. That's where they'll go to first. And it doesn't matter price point or stuff like that. But the more you evolve, the more your palate evolves, matures, it goes towards the flavor. It goes towards the experience. To me, one of the most important things is the performance of a cigar. Sometimes more than the flavor. If a cigar does not perform well, it can be the tastiest thing, but I will have to put it down just because I'm not having fun. I'll pick up something else. So I think the more experience, same as any other hobby, the more experience you have, exactly where you're going to, and then price, and then looks and other distractions, so to speak, even though they're a big part of the experience, are less and less important. At the end of the day, I think what Chris said is, you evolve to the point where the flavor is the key component.
Great points. Steve, one final follow-up there from you.
Oh, I just wanted to say I did visit your Instagram page and I thought that text sign up was very cool. I got a text right away, and then I thought that you sent the contact card to add to your phone directory. It was pretty awesome. So you guys are onto something with that text. It's really cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks for joining.
Welcome. Now he's gonna find out we're spamming all the time.
Now we can spam him.
Steve, thanks for sharing, and always good to see people's feedback and how well received some of those services are. Chris, Ben, I'm extremely grateful for you coming on today and sharing all of your thoughts and your feedback. It's most certainly appreciated, and I think a very respectful way of addressing some of those topics and the whole conversation. What you're doing online and how you try to build community and create an experience is special. And for that, again, thank you very much. It's been a true pleasure to have you with us today here at the Light 'em Up Lounge. I wish you continued success, all very best, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us.
For the industry.
Yes, thank you.
As long as we keep those open and honest conversations. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you here again. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
It was an
us.
absolute
Thank you for the
pleasure.
great questions.
Chris, Ben, all the best to you. Have a great rest of your day. To all of you folks, please join us again next week, same time, same station. Please be most wholeheartedly invited to our Christmas family gathering on December 21st, same time, same station. Chris, Ben, also to you, please make sure that you log on, even if it's for a couple of minutes. We'll have a vast majority of like all the master blenders, brand owners, cigar manufacturers, and tobacco growers, together with all our Light 'em Up family joining us then. So please chime back in 2 weeks. from now, and next week we'll have tuned. Join us again. Light them up in the meantime, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank
today.
you.
It was a pleasure. Goodbye and good night. Cheers.
Bye.
Good night.